Restart it, yeah? السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين. أما بعد, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants us beneficial knowledge and right actions. As we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us the people of khair in the dunya and the akhirah. Likewise, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes this book as a proof for us and not against us, and that Allah elevates us through this book. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy on us because of our connection with the revelation that He has sent down. And likewise, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He places everything that we do of goodness on our scale of good deeds, and that He wipes off our bad deeds through His rahmah upon us. Today, inshallah, we're going to look at this topic here. I know the way that it's been advertised is slightly different to what I've got on the presentation here, but I mean, the contents would probably be similar anyway. I think what's been advertised is Quranic literacy, the forgotten principle, something like that. But again, we're talking about the importance of the Quran and how to seek that knowledge and how to incorporate that importance in our lives. Okay, shall we continue? All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, the importance of studying the Quran and how to seek that knowledge of the Quran. So this lecture is going to be split into two segments. One is going to be talking about the importance of the Quran itself, looking at the virtues of the Quran. And the second one, bi'idhnillah, is going to be looking at what are some practical steps that we can take in order for the Quran to have an active role in our lives. So let's look at the first thing, and what we will do is we'll start with a question. Now, if anybody has attended any of my classes or courses, will realize that we ask a lot of questions. It's highly interactive. So looking at the importance of studying the Quran, let's just ask a very general question. And I do understand that this is an audience which is targeted at the youth predominantly. So a question for the youth really, what do you want from life? You can chat in, you can type in the chat, you can unmute yourself and give your suggestions. But what is it that a person would want in life?
Ease and peace.
Okay, so the first one I've got is ease and peace and tranquility. So I'll just write down tranquility. Contentment. Okay. And these are all spiritual things. But for most of the youth, I don't think they think about ease and peace, tranquility and contentment. I don't think they think about those things. Gratefulness, tranquility, I would say, is connected because of the fact that the person has satisfaction. Contentment, really. Contentment is probably the best word. Nearness to Allah. Okay, these are good things. I'm just talking about outside of a spiritual paradigm. I'm talking about just in general. What would a person, Muslim, non-Muslim, see as a person who is successful? So I'll put down tranquility as one. You know, stability, tranquility, probably one. Wealth is probably the most obvious. People measure based on how much they own. Lots of holidays, probably, yes. So, okay, I'm going to put that. You might laugh at that, but relaxation, easy life. They want money and wealth and tranquility, but they want it easily. They don't want it by working hard. That is the actual fact of most of the youth today. You can't hide away from that fact. Popularity and status, say fame. Happy family life, again, I don't think many of the youth think about those things. I don't think they do. Genuinely, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe you could correct me in this, but I mean, if you speak to a 20-year-old, 25-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, I mean, if you ask them, are you thinking about your family life? They probably say, yeah, someday I'd like to get married, but I'm not really thinking about that right now. I'm thinking about other things. What else do you think is important for a young person here in the West? I would say being clever and intellectual is probably one as well. I think the more we live in an age of social media, people are more conscious in the things that they are saying, and they want to be what they call influential over one another. Validation, fame, cleverness, to be seen as somebody who is, okay, clever and fame, they overlap with validation, they all overlap, but clever in the sense of what I mean is that people would, appreciate the things that they say and appreciate the things that they do. They have some kind of a stamp on other people. Okay, I'm just going to leave out this. We can continue if you want to, but because of the time, etc. And this is not really the topic that we're talking about. It interacts with the need for studying the Quran. Right. These are some of the things that I was thinking about before. I know somebody said family before. I don't know there, but what we could do is change family with, we could even say, easy life, as you will see. Now, these are standards and principles that people have developed for themselves as to what they think is a good life. It's not reflective of any kind of belief or aqidah or religion. It's just what they think will help them have a good life. So if I'm being seen as somebody who is clever, who is, good at a particular art, whether it's music, whether it's something like that. Again, we're not talking about halal or haram. We're not talking about religion or non-religion. We're just talking about what generally people think as being a good life. People want to be seen as somebody who is clever, somebody who is achieving something. Money and status is very important. Ease is very important, and fame is very important. But the problem is that these standards, if you take the Quran away from there, now we're getting a bit more spiritual, yeah? If you take the Quran away from there, if you take religion away from that, there are no standards. There is no right and there is no wrong. And those characteristics, 1, 2, 3, 4, can easily change day by day. And without there being those standards, without there being, something telling you, look, do this and don't do that, purpose is also lost as well. Purpose as to why you exist, purpose as to why you are trying to achieve those things. All of these things then become polluted and they get lost. Now, what is ajib and what is strange and what is amazing is that the Quran actually gives a person all of these things and more. But it is upon the person who believes in the Quran and reads the Quran and then follows it to understand why it's important in their lives. So the same thing that we are all aspiring to attain for ourselves, to want for ourselves in the dunya sense, the Quran liberates that person and gives that person that autonomy also, number one, but it also gives them purpose and standards to live by. So let's look at each one of these. So now we said being clever, being seen as somebody who is intellectual, all of these things are very important in the world we live in. That's fine. But what does the Quran say about that? What does the Quran do for us in the life of this dunya? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the very beginning of the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Hudan is the key word here. Because in the dunya, people will call this intelligence, somebody may call this person as being clever, people will call this person as an influencer or something like that. But in Islam, it's called hidayah. Cleverness, intelligence, this is called hidayah. Now, here's a question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here that He's given us the book as a hidayah so that we can become clever, but hidayah is a bit different, isn't it? It's not the same as being intellectual, is it? So what is hidayah? perspective on life. Okay, how do you measure that? Modesty. Hidayah is modesty. If a person is modest, have they attained hidayah? God given guidance. How do you define that? How do you know that Allah is giving you guidance?
The correct application of knowledge and
Okay,
intention.
that's very good. Okay, so hidayah has two aspects to it. The brother just said the correct application of knowledge. In order for you to apply something, excuse me, in order for you to apply something, you need to have knowledge of that thing. So the first thing which is included in hidayah is knowledge. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, this is the book. There is no doubt in this book because it gives us knowledge. It makes a person intelligent. It makes a person clever. In the dunya, if a person has got book knowledge, if a person is constantly writing and giving lectures and all those kind of things, they will be revered for their knowledge. They will say this person is, highly intellectual. But their actions might differ to what they say in their work. And this happens a lot. How many times do you find a person who is, I don't know, a politician or a lecturer or an educator or teacher or something like that, that they are benefiting people with their knowledge, but their actions themselves is not upright. How many times does that happen? Islam is saying something which is different. In order for you to be clever, in order for you to be seen as somebody that is intelligent and accepted with Allah, you need to have knowledge. And you need to follow up with those actions. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, this is the book, لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, no doubt. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, it gives knowledge and it gives you action for those people who want to do what is good and want to stay away from what is bad. This is the guidance for the people of taqwa. But hidayah also is a protection from those things which are bad. Now again, how many times do you find a person who's got knowledge, they might have good actions, but they don't stay away from doing certain bad things, or certain bad things that Islam sees as bad, or certain bad things that they know is bad for themselves, but they do it anyway? How many times do you find a person of worldly knowledge, but they may be engaged in certain sins which is destroying them, smoking, drinking, Allah protects us, riba, all these different things, gambling, all of these things which are rife, but they are perfectly legal. So this intellectual person has got knowledge. He's got some good actions, he's got some good manners and all these different things, but there are certain things in his life that will say, no, well, that doesn't defy the person. In actual fact, is actually going against defying his knowledge, not defining it. So this is hidayah, and this is what the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to us gives us. Okay, so importance or reason number one as to why the Quran is important, and in the short space of time that we have, in this hour or so, I'm not sure when that. But I don't think it'd be I don't think it'd be easy. I think it'd be extremely difficult for us to talk about all of the things of the Quran and the importance and the virtues within it. It'd be extremely difficult for a person to do that, especially the fact that we've actually got two topics that we need to discuss. The second one is how to imply it. But what we're going to do here is just try and look at those different things that people look for themselves in the dunya, but inshallah, the Quran can give you if you apply it and understand it with that purpose, saying, with those standards. The first thing we're saying is that the Quran gives a person intellect. It makes him clever. But we are saying that there is a level above intellect, cleverness, which is something that's called hidayah. And hidayah is knowledge with actions and the ability to stay away from something bad. This is why the Quran is important. Another reason why the Quran is important. Now, we've all said wealth. Now this, I'm not very good with cars, but when I typed in expensive car in Google, this is what we came up with. And I don't know, you guys probably know better than me, but this is a very expensive car. And I think it's the most expensive car in the world. I'm not sure why, but that's the reason, or that's what is being said. Now, even if you were a non-materialistic person, if a person was to say to you, you can have this car for something that will take you just moments to do, I don't think there'll be anyone that would say, I don't want it. You could have it, you could drive it, you could sell it, you could become popular, you could do a lot of things when it comes to, like we said, the dunya sense. So imagine if a person was giving away this car, but they did require from you to do something which is very short in time for you to attain this thing. Would there be anyone realistically in their right mind who would say that, no, I don't want it, I'm not interested? I don't think so. Look at this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sahih Muslim. He said, أَفَلَا يَغْدُوَ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. Is there anyone that can go from you to go to the masjid? فَيَعْلَمْ أَوْ يَقْرَأْ آيَتَيْن مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. That he learns or he just recites without looking at the tafsir, without looking at the translation. But he learns or he recites ayatain in Kitab Allah Azza wa Jal, 2 ayat from the Book of Allah. خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِن نَاقَتَيْن is better for him than 2 camels. In another narration, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anybody who recites from the Quran during the night prayers, خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِنْ حُمْرِ النَّعْمِ, it would be better for him than red camels. Now, red camels, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, until today, are the most prized form of camels. Hence, we have this expensive car. The Prophet ﷺ said, if anyone is able to stand during the night, recite some of the ayat, per ayah, he will get something which is better than this. So now, often when we're driving down the road, when we're walking down the road, if you're on the bus and you see a nice car, quite often people look at the car and they look at the person who is driving it, and they look at the different things surrounding the car, you know, the noise that it makes, the color it is, how fast the person is driving, all these different things. And they think, well, that's very nice, you know, that's something that I would like for myself. I wish I could have one of those things. And there is, inshallah, no harm in a person trying to aspire to have those things. But the Quran gives you something greater with a lot more ease. Here in this hadith from Sahih Muslim, أَفَلَا يَغْدُوَ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. Is there anybody that's not able to go to the masjid, especially if you live in Leicester? Leicester have more than 50, 60 masajid. فَيَعْلَمُ وَيَقْرَأَ آيَتَيْنِ مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. He goes there and he learns. He sits in a lesson, or he sits with the teacher, or he learns for himself. He reads from the English translation, he puts on some tafsir and he puts the headphones on. Oh, he just recites 2 ayat. What's the ayah? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Done. The Prophet ﷺ here has said now, bi'idhnillah, anyone who recites each ayah will get a mode of transportation, will be given to him in the akhirah. And some of those narrations say, better than the most prized form of transportation that you can think of in the dunya. Why is the Quran important? It gives you true wealth, wealth that doesn't disappear. I mean, look at this car in front of you. I mean, some people might like it, they might be attracted by it, but every single thing that has been used to develop this car will perish. It's not something that is permanent. It will get broken. You can get into an accident. You can get stolen. You can get, the windows smashed, anything. But even if you look at the origins of the car, every single one of those things has come from a place which is undesirable. I mean, rubber comes from trees. The metal comes from underneath the ground. It needs petrol, which comes from underneath the ground, which is messy, it's not very nice, etc. So all of these undesirable things have been put together to make something which is, attractive to yourself. Really, it's all a farce. The Prophet ﷺ is saying in this hadith, خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِن نَاقَتَيْن. It will be better for him, wealth-wise, financially. True possession will be given to this person in the akhirah, the more he interacts with the Quran. Second reason why the Quran is important. Number one, it gives you intelligence, and number two, it actually makes you wealthy. Here's another hadith from the Prophet ﷺ talking about how much wealth a person can attain. Man qara'a harfan min kitabillah falahu bihi hasana. Anyone who recites from the Quran, he will get a reward for each letter that he recites. Letter. وَالْحَسَنَةُ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا. And with every reward, it will be multiplied by 10 minimum. So then the Prophet ﷺ explained to us, لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف. I do not say that alif lam mim is one letter. Rather, to explain this and to expand it further to those people, they were not illiterate people. They were illiterate people. They didn't necessarily know the difference between alif lam mim and alif and then lam and then mim. Also, to emphasize that alif lam mim is not what he's talking about. He's talking about each of one of these separately. ولكن ألف حرف. So when you say alif lam mim, for the alif you get 10 rewards. For the mim you will get 10 rewards, and for the lam you get 10 rewards, and for the mim you will get 10 rewards. ولكن ألف حرف ميم حرف ألف حرف لام حرف ميم حرف. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, in explaining this in his tafsir, he said it was narrated from Mujahid. Mujahid is the student of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that we counted the Quran and we found that there were 321,180 letters in the Quran. 321,180 letters from the Quran. This is because the Prophet ﷺ said, Alif harf, lam harf, mim. Now, going with this hadith, وَالْحَسَنَةُ بِأَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا, if we times it by 10, what do we get? So 321,180 times it by 10 as a minimum, 3.2 million. And the reason why I've got the calculator out is because the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith that the reward can be multiplied even up to 700. إلى 700 dirham. So if we times it by 700, it goes up to 224 million of rewards if a person was to recite the whole Quran with khushu', with understanding, with focus, with sincerity, with intent, with following up actions. So now, my brothers, look at this car and look at what we have just said, what the Quran can give you. Where is the true wealth? This car, I don't know how much it's worth, 1 million, 2 million, whatever it is, even if it's worth $1 billion. The Quran empowers a person with a lot more, with permanent rewards for that person in the Akhirah. And you have to remember that everything which is made in the Akhirah doesn't come from an undesirable origin. So now you have a house in the dunya and that's made from sand and cement and these different things. The houses in Jannah are not made from sand and cement. It is not made from things which are undesirable. Whereas this thing in front of you is. And like we said, it does become undesirable after a period of time. Maybe there's another model, maybe it needs repairs, whatever the case. True wealth is given in the Quran. That family life is important. And like we said here before, let's scroll up again, family life with ease is important. The Prophet ﷺ in this hadith now. So now what we have learned, why is the Quran important? Number one, it gives you true intelligence. It helps you to have upright actions and stay away from those things which are bad and undesirable, even if most of mankind are doing them. Islam gives you those morals. Number two, it gives you true wealth. Wealth which doesn't perish, wealth which you can attain from ease, but wealth which is connected to the hidayah that we were talking about before. It's not just superficial wealth, it's actual true meaningful wealth. Some of the things that people were talking about before of modesty and success and contentment and validation, gratefulness. That's the wealth that comes with the Quran. But also you will attain materialistic wealth as well from the Quran, but that is to be given to you now. A place where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows where it is far better for you to attain that. We talked about families, we talked about friends, we talked about having ease because of family and friends, and having it to be given to you easily, the wealth and the intelligence. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sahih Muslim, he said, "Iqra al-Quran, read the Quran. فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة الشفيع الناس." Read the Quran a great deal, because it will come on the day of judgment as a friend to the one who used to be. Shafi' refers to a person who intercedes on behalf of somebody else. So now imagine you know someone and there is a third party, and you are the third party, let's say, and between A and B there is a discussion that's happening. You have some kind of influence over A and B which could help the discussion. So you insert yourself into the discussion and say, listen, A, do this for B, and B, do this for A. And they will both listen to you because of who you are. This is a shafi'. This is an interceder. This is what the Quran can be as a friend to the person who recites it, believes in it. The Prophet ﷺ is saying here that on the day of judgment, your father will no longer be your father, your mother will no longer be your mother, and your spouse will no longer be your spouse. Al-akhilla yawmin adun ba'duhum liman illa al-muttaqin. They will all be enemies to one another, except for the people of taqwa, except for the people who had that influence of Quran in their lives. On a day when you need friendship and your relationships the most, the Quran will come as an interceder. The Quran will come as a friend. The Quran will come to give you ease. Third reason why the Quran is important. Number one, we said it gives a person intelligence. Number two, it gives a person wealth. And number three, it gives a person family and security and stability. And all of this can be seen in the dunya, but it will definitely be given to that person as a matter of faith, as a matter of belief that we have in the akhirah also. Fourth and the last thing is that often people measure the life of this dunya and success within it as to how famous they are, how popular they are, how accepted they are, how validated they are. The Quran can give you something. The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best of you, meaning the most famous of you, the most revered of you, the most respected of you, the highest of you in your societies should be the person who teaches the Quran or learns the Quran and then teaches it. تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. Therefore, true fame and true status and reputation belongs to the people of Quran. Now here's a narration from Salman al-Farsi. He says something which is amazing. He said, إذا كان الرجل داعا في السراء فنزلت به ضراء فدعا الله تعالى. When a person is going through ease, he is remembering Allah. He's reciting from the Quran, he's making dhikr, he's making dua, he is talking of things which are good, he is spreading ilm, etc. in times of ease. فَنَزَلَتْ بِهِ ضَرَّةٌ. When a difficult situation now befalls him, now he needs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he makes dua, but this dua is different to the time of ease, isn't it? When we're in ease, we make dua, we ask for those things that we ask for, but when you are in a time of difficulty, your desperation is more, your servitude to Allah is greater. فَنَزَلَتْ بِهِ ضَرَّةٌ فَدَعَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Then he calls Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that desperation. قالت الملائكة. Then the malaika, they say, صوت معروف. This is a voice that we recognize. Fame, reputation, status. With who? Not the people, with the malaika. The malaika are so used to hearing your voice on a constant basis, they say, this is the voice, we know this voice. This is the voice of Abdulaziz, this is the voice of Aisha, this is the voice of Ali, this is the voice of Bilal and Bashir. We know this voice. This voice is constantly making dua and dhikr and reciting Quran and saying things which are beneficial, teaching knowledge, etc. صوت معروف فشفعوا له. So then the malaika take that dua, and with that dua they go up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they say, oh Allah, this servant of yours needs your help. And we know this voice. This is the same voice that was calling you yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, reciting the Quran yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. Now he's reciting the Quran again and he's making dua again, but he needs something. Can you please give it to him? وَإِذَا كَانَ لَيْسَ بِدَعَاءٍ فِي السَّرَّاءِ. However, if you've got a voice, if there is a person, he doesn't supplicate to Allah in times of ease. He doesn't worship Allah in times of ease. He doesn't recite the Quran in times of ease. He doesn't say good things in times of ease. He doesn't learn or teach anything in times of ease. فَنَزَلَتْ بِهِ ضَرَّاء. And then when some kind of difficulty befalls this person, فَدَعَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى, and then he makes dua, قَالَتِ الْمَلَائِكَةُ صَوْتٌ لَيْسَ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Who is this voice? We don't recognize this voice. This voice is only supplicating right now, and they've got a need, because we can tell by the dua. But who is this voice? We don't normally hear from this voice. وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ لَهُ. And they don't intercede. The malaika don't intercede. But the person, now here's the point what Salman al-Farsi rahimahullah is saying here. But it's not just about dua, and it's not just about dhikr, and it's not just about learning and teaching ilm. It's about reciting the Quran as well. And as some of the Salaf say, how many people are unknown in the dunya, but they are famous in the heavens? And how many people are famous in the dunya, but they are unknown in the heavens? The Quran can give you fame because the Prophet said, the best of you, the most highest in status of you are those people who recite the Quran, learn the Quran, and teach it. This is the first segment, and we can conclude. Now, this is a very important principle that you learn from the teachings in tafsir. And this actually helps us understand the topic very well, also as a principle, which is that if something has certain characteristics, anyone who interacts with that thing will also attain those characteristics. Does that make sense? If someone has, or if something has certain characteristics, if someone interacts with that thing, will also attain those characteristics with the permission of Allah. So you have Zamzam water. Zamzam water is clean water. Zamzam water is a nutritional water, mineral water. Zamzam water, if a person supplicates with it, is blessed water. If a person, different characteristics of Zamzam. Now, if a person was to drink that Zamzam water, you will attain some of the characteristics that that water has, and it will be transferred to you if you've got ikhlas behind it. You will become clean. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Ma tahur ta'matun." Said that it's a nutritional form of water. Ma zamzam bima shuriba lahu. Ma zamzam, water of zamzam, whatever it is drunk for, because it is blessed and it has certain characteristics. If you were to drink that water, you could attain those characteristics for yourself. An even more everyday example as well. Some of the ulama have said that there are certain animals that we are allowed to eat, but there are certain animals that we are not allowed to eat. That is because when you eat and interact with that meat, the characteristics of those animals could have an impact on the person who is eating them. If you were to eat, carnivorous animals that eat other animals, that could then have an impact on the one who is eating those animals. But if you eat animals which are calm, relaxed animals, etc., then you will also find the nutritional benefits as well as the characteristics transferred to yourself, inshallah. That's a general principle. So now, if we apply that principle to the Quran, what characteristics that we know from the Quran? What characteristics that we know from the Quran that describes the Quran? We saw one before. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. That is the book where there is no doubt in it. So now, applying that principle, if a person interacts with the Quran, believes in the Quran, learns the Quran, teaches the Quran, applies what he learns from the Quran, he will also then become a person who has no doubt in it. What other characteristics do we know exist in the book that describe the Quran? Is the Quran of clarity? No doubt, yes. Is the Quran of moderation? Yes. There is no extremes in the book. It is a weighty word. There are many characteristics. Also, these are some of the ones that I was thinking when I was drawing this presentation up. There are no contradictions. فلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. Had it been from other than Allah, you would find many contradictions in it. The more you interact with the Quran, the more you learn the Quran, you will become a person of principle, and then you will also have no contradiction in what you say and what you do and what you do. The Quran is a furqan between what is right and what is wrong. The more you interact with the Quran, the more you will be given as a criterion between what is right and wrong. في كتاب بل هو قرآن مجيد في كتاب مكنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Waqi'ah, this is the Quran Majid, and it is in a preserved tablet. The Quran is preserved. Therefore, the more you interact with the Quran, you will also then become preserved yourself. The Quran is something which is strong. It has some strength behind it. It's a weighty word, but also some strength. It gives you strength. It empowers a person if you interact with it. لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. None except the purified things. So now, a person might think, well, I've not got wudu, I could touch the Quran. That's not what is meant by this. What is meant here is that nobody will benefit from the Quran except if he is a person who is purified. Purified internally in his iman, purified externally in his wudu, that is when the person will benefit. If a person fulfills these criteria correctly, then those characteristics, bi'idhnillah, will also be transferred. It is a book which confirms the way of the people that came from before. The more you interact with the Quran, the more you are on the religion of Adam and Nuh and Hud and Saleh and Shu'aib and Ibrahim and Lut and Musa and Isa and all of the Anbiya. May Allah be pleased with all of them until Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that this is a book مصدق لما بين يديه من التوراة والإنجيل. It is a book that comes to confirm what was already revealed from the Torah and the Injil. So you are with the prophets and you are with the messengers and you are with the malaika the more you are with the Quran. These are some of the important virtues that we learn from the Quran. Now the next segment is how to seek it. What are some of the things that we could do to seek it? Now, we've only literally got half an hour left, and I anticipated that we wouldn't have enough time to discuss all of the things that the ulama have mentioned. But what we have here from A, B, C, D, E, F has been taken from what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentioned. I'm just only mentioning what one scholar has mentioned on how we can interact with the Quran. But before we do that, before we look at what Ibn al-Qayyim says rahimahullah, it's important for us to understand that one of the best acts of worship that a person can do is to ponder on the Quran. So when we are asking, how do we seek these virtues of the Quran? How do I become clever in myself? How do I attain hidayah? How do I attain the wealth and the rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about? How do I attain the Quran as being my friend and, you know, interceding on my behalf? How do I then attain the fame? How do I attain the characteristics of what the Quran can give to a person who reads it? One of the biggest things that we need to do is we need to have an interaction with the Quran, which is to ponder on the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Sa'ad, كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكًا لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He's revealed to us a blessed book. And something which is Mubarak, which is blessed, basically means something which increases in its goodness, the more that a person has it. This is another characteristic that you could add to your list here. The Quran is blessed. And the more you read from the Quran, the more you benefit from it, you too will become blessed. And we said blessed means that a person has the ability to do more of those things. So Allah is saying here that this is a book which is blessed, and it gives the person the ability to do more, which is good. How? Why? لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِ. How do you attain that blessing for yourself? By pondering. وَلِيَتَذَكَّرَ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. And so that it acts as a reminder for those people who have intellect. Now with this, the ulama have said التدبر and tadhakkur. Written here, tafakkur. But tafakkur is similar to tadhakkur. In this ayah, we learn two things which are being used. I've not got English translation with me, but liyadabbaru means to ponder, while liyatadhakkar possibly means to remind or to reflect. Now, even in the English language, they are very similar in their meaning. You can see that sometimes they're a bit different. Liyadabbaru is to ponder, to extrapolate, to expand thought, whereas waliyatadhakkar is to be reminded and to reflect, meaning you draw lessons from, but you can see that they are quite similar also. Some of the ulama have said, let's look at liyadabbar, let's put this one first. Liyadabbar refers to an act of worship, an act of uluhiyyah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kitabun, let's read this again now. كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك. We have revealed to you a blessed book. ليدبروا آياته, so that you may ponder on its ayat, on its verses, so that you can increase in acts of worship. So pondering on the Quran is an act of worship in itself, and it provides more acts of worship. وَلِيَتَذَكَّرْ. Now here, لِيَتَذَكَّرْ refers to contemplating on the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, point number one, how do we seek benefit from the Quran? It can only come about if a person is connected to a strong level of tawheed and iman and ikhlas and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if a person is weak in his tawheed, if a person is weak in his iman, then it's going to obviously affect his relationship with the Quran. As we can see here, what some of the ulama say. يَدَّبَّرُ, for the person who is a strong worshipper of Allah, وَلِيَتَذَكَّرُ, for those people who have a strong level of aqeedah and connection with Allah. And this we learn now also through your tawheed studies, that rububiyyah is needed for uluhiyyah, and uluhiyyah is needed for rububiyyah. Both of them complement one another. You can't have a person who says, yeah, I believe in the oneness of Allah, but then ends up making shirk. And you cannot have a person who worships Allah alone, but he believes in multiple deities, even though he worships Allah alone. That is not acceptable either. Some of the Christians, they might do that. They may worship Allah alone, but they believe that He has a son or something like that. Therefore, how do we benefit from the Quran? Number one, we understand that you need to have a strong level of iman and aqeedah in order for you to benefit from anything from this, let alone the Quran, anything from this. Also, learning and seeking the Quran is one of the best acts of worship that a person can do. Right, here's another question now. How do we benefit and ponder on the Quran? And quite often, this is very unfortunate. Now we're living in an age where, I mean, this didn't exist so much in the English language, but it is something which is open in the English language, I would say, over the last 10, 15 years. Which is that people start talking about the Quran on its linguistic basis. People start talking about the Quran on some of the things that they can reflect for themselves as to what the Quran is saying. So you might find an Ustadh, you might find a Shaykh, you might find a Mufti, you might find an Alim, whatever he calls himself, and he sits in front of you and he says, look at this ayah, this is what the ayah means. Is that how we ponder on the Quran or not? Meaning, is it a free-for-all for anyone just to say whatever they want, and this is including in pondering? And what's unfortunate now also is that some people, they will use the scientific meanings of the Quran that they believe are there, or the mathematical meanings of the Quran that they believe are there, or the historical, or the linguistic, and these different things, scientific, and all these different things that they believe, astronomical. Is that why the Quran was revealed? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's read the ayah again. Kitabun anzalnahu ilayk mubarakun liyadabbaru ayatih. This Quran has been revealed so that we increase in our iman and our aqidah, and that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone through it. And this is not to say that these academic fields and benefits are not there in the Quran. That is not to say that it doesn't exist. But this is not the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed the book. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the book to us so that we can increase in our iman, in our aqidah, and our worship of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is pondering? What is reflecting? Ibn al-Qayyim, like I said, says that a person can benefit from the Quran in the following ways. Number one, pondering includes listening to the Quran. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. In order for you to benefit from the Quran, in order for you to seek the goodness that you can find in the Quran, in order for you to be from the people who ponder on the Quran, is that you listen to the Quran. Now, for those people of younger age, they might not understand the Quran. For people, for a lot of us, we might not understand the Quran because it's not our, it's not our language, it's not our mother tongue. So listening of the Quran can be of different levels. Listening of the Quran, I mean, this is something that I encourage even my young children to do. I mean, even very young children can do this, is listen to the Quran, look at what the reciter is saying, how is he saying it, and try and emulate it for yourself. That way, it will give you some proficiency and eloquency in the way that you read the Quran. It gives you a tone, it gives you a read, it gives you a melody, it gives you all of these things. So now, by reciting the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here, for the person who recites the Quran, or for the person who listens to the Quran, divine mercy falls upon them. Now, let's not understand this in a superficial manner. We are not saying that reciting the Quran is sufficient in order for you to benefit from it. It is an act of worship in itself. It's a great deal of khair that comes along with it, because like we see here, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show mercy on the person who recites the Quran and the person who listens to the Quran. But as we will see in B and C and D and E and F, it is more than just listening. But step number one, listen to it. Listen to the Quran for what it is. Listen to the Quran if you are able to understand it. Listen to the Quran. Increase in listening to the Quran. That will help you ponder. Now again, like I said, pondering is at different levels. Pondering could be that for a small child, they might not understand anything that they are saying, but they will find some kind of enjoyment in reciting the Quran because they listen to their favorite reciter recite it and they're trying to be like him. Remember, يَدَّبَّرُ آيَاتِهِ means uluhiyah. So then he is facilitating that person's act of worship. Pondering on the Quran is included in listening and reciting the Quran on a basic level. But on the higher level, listening so that you can understand, so that you can see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the book, so that you can derive lessons from it after listening to it. That doesn't necessarily explain what pondering is, and I think pondering is more going to come in what we mentioned in C, but we'll get to that in a moment. Pondering also includes, and how we can also seek the benefits from the Quran, also included us reciting it. Included in the ayah that we have just mentioned, because in order for you to listen, there has to be a reciter. But here we have another hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Dawood, which has been classed as Sahih by Shaykh al-Albani. Man qara'a al-Quran wa amila bima fihi. Anybody who recites the Quran and acts upon what they recite, what is inside the Quran, أُلْبِسَ وَالِدَاهُ تَاجٌ يَوْمَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place a crown on that person, or the parents of that person, on the Day of Judgment. Now the light that emanates from the crown that that person will be given, the parents of the child that recites the Quran will be given, the light that comes out from it, that is illuminated from it, أحسن من ضوء الشمس في بيوت الدنيا لو كانت فيكم, will be brighter than the sun had the sun been on the face of this earth. So imagine if the sun wasn't so far away, billions of light years or whatever it is away, if it was on planet Earth, how hot would the dunya become? How illuminated would the dunya become? Imagine, as in this hadith here, specifically, fi buyuti dunya, had it been in the houses, in your city. What is your opinion? What is your thought? What is your reaction to a person when he hears that on the Day of Judgment, the person who has recited the Quran, their parents, will have a crown which will outshine the sun had it been amongst us. The importance of reading the Quran and listening to it. This is how a person can benefit from its virtues. And again, on a superficial level, even if they don't understand anything, they will still get the benefits. Okay, they'll still get the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But on a higher level, listening and reciting, in order for you to understand, in order for you to deduce, in order for you to, apply and remind. Now here is the direct meaning of what is pondering. Now this is important because, like we said before, there's a lot of people that are talking about the Quran. There's a lot of Islamic channels and videos and social media, etc., where people are talking about the Quran, making tafsir of the Quran. Is pondering the same as tafsir? Is tafsir the same as pondering? Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, one of the ulama of the Quran, he said, حدثنا الذين كانوا يقرؤوننا. It's been narrated to us from our teachers who used to recite the Quran. أنهم كانوا يستقرؤون من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. They used to seek for the recitation from the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, meaning the companion. Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami is talking about the companion. They used to learn the Quran from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. فكانوا إذا تعلموا 10 آيات. When they used to recite 10 ayat from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لم يخلفوها حتى يعملوا بها فيها من عمل. تعلمنا القرآن وعلم جميعا. And this is what they did with us as well. That when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach the Quran, they used to learn 10 ayat from the Quran. They used to learn its meaning. They used to incorporate in their life, and then they used to go back and learn 10 more from the Messenger of Allah. Until they've done that with those 10, they would not move on to another 10. How do we seek blessing of the Quran in our life? How do we attain those benefits of the Quran in our life? Listening, reading, learning. Now, you'll never find from the companions talking about the scientific virtues of the Quran or the historical virtues of the Quran or the mathematical virtues of the Quran. Again, I'm not trying to say they're not there, but that's not the primary understanding of what the Quran is. And in order, and another thing that we learn from this narration here, in order for us to benefit from the tafsir of the Quran, it has to go back to narrations from the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran explains the Quran, the Sunnah explains the Quran, and the companions explain the Quran. Abdul Rahman al-Sulami, he is saying here that our teachers used to narrate to us and have the same approach in teaching us as they did with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu. Learn, teach, recite, memorize, incorporate, make sure you've got the right understanding, and then learn the next thing. Therefore, in order for a person to understand what the Quran is teaching you, you have to go back to the Salaf. You have to go back to the way that the companions understood the Quran. So if you've got a person who's telling you about the Quran, but they're not really using other ayat, they're not using hadith, they're not mentioning the Salaf, they've not got the correct aqidah, they're not using aqidah, they're not using principles, then you have to understand that that understanding and that pondering from the Quran may be invalid. Pondering on the Quran is based on how much you learn from the tafsir. And only then can you understand it and then teach it. And that is then the only way that you can benefit from the khair that you find in the Quran. Also, what we learn from this narration here, which is mentioned by Ibn al-Qayyim also, which is in order for you to seek the benefits of the Quran, you need to act upon it. And this is found here also. They didn't learn 10 ayat until they learned it, memorized it, and acted upon it. And the second to last, which is very, very important in any person's affairs, is to make dua. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes the Quran as a rabi'a qalbi wa nur sadri wa jala'a hammi wa huzni. These are many supplications that the Prophet ﷺ have in making the Quran something which was of a guide to him, something which settles in his heart, in his actions. But here specifically, we have Hudhayfa ibn Yaman, and he said that Sallaytu ma'a Rasulullah ذات ليل. One night I prayed with him, and he started his night prayer by praying al-Baqarah. So I thought to myself, يقرأ عند الماء. When we get to about 100 ayat, so that's when he will make ruku. From the mother, then he continued. فقلت يصلي بها في ركعة. I thought, okay, well, he's going to carry on because look, Baqarah is 286 ayat. He didn't stop at 100, and there is no indication that he's going to stop at 100 or anytime soon. So I thought to myself, maybe he's going to pray Baqarah or recite Baqarah in one rak'ah. فمضى. After Baqarah finished, he carried on, and now he starts Surah An-Nisa. And then he continues with Surah An-Nisa. I thought, okay, now at some stage he's going to make ruku'. But then he completed Surah An-Nisa also. ثم افتتح آل Imran. Then he started with Al Imran. فقرأها يقرأ مترسلا. And he was reciting in a slow and a measured pace. A slow and a measured pace. He recited 3 of the longest surahs in the Quran in one rak'ah. But here is the point, and here is the description that he is giving. إِذَا مَرَّ بِآيَةٍ فِيهَا تَسْبِيحٌ سَبَّحَ. If there was an ayah in the Quran which talks about the oneness of Allah, the glorification of Allah, the perfection of Allah, and how far He is away from any kind of imperfection, he then made tasbih. وَإِذَا مَرَّ بِسُؤَالٍ سَأَلَ. And if he came past a point in the ayah from the Quran that he felt that he can ask Allah for that thing that he is just reciting, Jannah, staying away from the fire, etc., Then he made dua by the Quran. وَإِذَا مَرَّ بِتَعَوُّذٍ تَعَوَّذ. If he found something that he wanted to seek refuge from, then he would seek refuge from Allah once he's reciting the Quran. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying, in order for you to benefit from the Quran, you need to make it personal to yourself, making dua. How many times do people read the ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and you just think, okay, well, this is just general to the believers? No, you need to make it personal to yourself. How many times do you read ayat of Jannah and you think, okay, this is Jannah, which Allah has described? No, make it personal to yourself. Say, no, this is for me. I want this. Oh, Allah, make this for me. Whenever you read an ayah from the hellfire, say, oh, Allah, this is something I'm genuinely scared of. Oh, Allah, save me from. Make the Quran personal to you. How do you seek the virtues and the benefits of the Quran? Listen to it, recite it, learn what it says, learn its tafsir, then ponder on it and reflect and deduce once you have learned, making dua. There's a final one that Ibn al-Qayyim mentions, which, sometimes people will take for granted. They might not think that is included in how to benefit from the Quran, but he mentions this. Imran ibn Hussein said that I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, "Iqra'u al-Quran wa sallallahu tabarak wa ta'ala bihi." Recite the Quran and ask Allah by it. Again, proof for making dua. فَإِنَّ مِن بَعْدِكُمْ قَوْمٌ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنَ يَسْأَلُونَ النَّاسَ بِهِ. There will come a time when people will recite the Quran and they will not ask Allah by it. Rather, they will ask the people. Meaning, they will recite the Quran, but their hearts will not be connected to the Quran. Their hearts will be connected to the creation. What the creation has from the dunya. What the creation can do for them. But in this hadith, which has been mentioned in Musnad of Imam Ahmad, made Hassan by Shu'aib al-Na'ud and others from those in that, the Prophet is saying, read the Quran and ask Allah by it, make dua by it. But also what we learn is ask Allah for ruqya by it. What is ruqya? Ruqya, quite often people say, oh, if a person is being affected by jinn or ayn, may Allah protect you, make ruqya. No, ruqya is broader than that. Ruqya is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection of your heart and your soul and your iman, but also your body and your possessions. But in this hadith we learn that a way that a person can benefit from the Quran is that he recites the Quran, he believes in it, he acts upon it, he learns it, he teaches it, he listens to it, he recites it, and also he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him by it. He asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him a cure through it. Whatever difficulties, whatever things that he fears in his life, he resorts to the Quran, and that's where he finds goodness in it. Ruqya. These are some of the things that we mentioned by Ibn al-Qayyim. As a conclusion, you can say, nobody will ever benefit from something. Now, in talking about why the Quran is important and how to seek it, this is a very important point that Ibn al-Qayyim also mentioned elsewhere. He said, rahimahullah, nobody will benefit from something unless you give that thing importance. If you've got a glass of water and it is Zamzam water, if you don't give Zamzam water importance, you just throw it down the drain and it's nothing. Right? It's just water. But if the water is of importance to you, you would never throw it down the drain. You would hold on to it. You would drink it. You would supplicate by it. You're not going to finish it, you put it in the fridge, you tell everybody in the house, this is Zamzam water, do not waste it. Why? Because you can never ever really benefit from something unless if you give that thing its importance. If you want to benefit from the Quran, you need to give it importance. It starts off from your heart. And if you have taqwa and respect towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His book, then you will have that given to you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you assistance. Hence you will find the Salaf were different to us. They used to recite the Quran, they used to weep a great deal. Why? Because it was personal to them. They used to make dua by it. They genuinely used to recite the Quran and they used to ask Allah that this is the thing that I want, oh Allah. They used to understand it, so they were able to ponder on it. They used to listen to it. They used to recite it. They understood its virtues. This is because they gave that thing importance. But one last thing also we need to mention, and this is based on this narration of Uthman, he said, لو أن قلوبنا ما شبعت من كلام الله. If our hearts were clean, how well would it then reflect the speech of Allah? Meaning, if your hearts are clean and if your hearts are soft, only then will it be able to absorb the cleverness, the wealth, the fame, the friends, the intercession, the ability to listen, recite, and learn and understand. Only then will your hearts be able to absorb it. If our hearts are not soft enough, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, صفوان عليه تراب فتركه في صلدا لا يقدرون مما كسبوا. It's like a rock that has particles of dust on it. The person's good deeds are like that. When the wind comes, what are we able to gather? You won't be able to gather anything because everything has been taken away and carried away by the wind. That is the parable of a person who has a hard heart. Nothing is able to absorb into it. If you have sincerity towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you increase in learning about Tawheed and Aqidah and Iman, the more you learn about those things of the unseen and you attach yourself to the rewards of the Akhirah, the more you want to save yourself from the hellfire and distance yourself from Shaitan and his allies, the softer your heart will become, the more of a servant you will become towards your master. And the softer your heart becomes, the more importance you will show towards those things which will benefit, and then you will truly then be able to benefit because your heart is soft. You're able to then absorb those things from the Kalam of Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes the Quran as a guide for us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us the importance of the Quran in our lives, and He allows us to implement them to the best of our ability. Likewise, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He elevates us through this Quran in the dunya and the akhirah, and that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to enter the Jannah, and that He protects us from the hellfire. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
Thank you very much, Ustadh. May Allah reward you for the effort you put in. May Allah make it easy for us to practice upon what's been said. We have a couple of minutes for questions if there are any. So if there are, feel free to just ask or write it in the chats. So yeah, we'll wait like a couple of minutes for any questions to come up. If not, then we'll end this session and we'll resume again, inshallah, at 1 o'clock for the next talk on righteousness. What's the big deal? That talk's open to everybody, so make sure you come along and invite your family and friends, no matter the age. And can't see any questions currently. Okay, there's one question here. So, Jazakumullah khair, Ustad. You mentioned that we shouldn't look at the linguistic meaning of the Quran. I was wondering if you could clarify that.
What I meant by the linguistic meaning of the Quran is that the Quran has to be understood with certain principles. The Quran was revealed in the Arabic language, so a person needs to have that linguistics. The person needs to understand the Arabic language, of course. And it's a very good question to highlight the difference of linguistics in understanding the Quran because it is in the Arabic language, but also linguistics needed to understand the sources of legislation in our religion. Just like hadith, just like fiqh, you cannot have an understanding of our religion just because you speak Arabic or you can understand Arabic. That is not good enough. It's important, it is a tool. And the same thing when it comes to the Quran. Just because you can speak Arabic or understand Arabic doesn't necessarily mean you understand what the ayah is saying. So then how do we understand what the Quran means? The Quran explains the Quran. If you have an ayah, that ayah will then be understood by looking at another ayah. Or the hadith explains the Quran. So the Quran is very general. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what aqimus salat. The Quran mentioned making ruku' and sujood Does the Quran mention making 4 raka'at at Dhuhr and 4 raka'at at Asr? No. We go back to the Sunnah to understand what the Quran is. Likewise, we have statements from the companions. Likewise, we have statements from the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een. Therefore, this is what we meant by looking at the linguistic. The linguistic is not enough to understand the Quran. Just like any other aspect of the religion, we have sources of legislation, we have scriptures of legislation which help us understand what the religion is telling us, and this is how the Quran is understood. What is unfortunate today is you find a lot of people explaining the Quran based on what it says linguistically. That is very dangerous. And in actual fact, people have deviant sects come out because they look at the linguistics of the Quran. For example, Allah says in Surah Yusuf, in mentioning what the brothers of Yusuf said, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا. You will not be a mu'min in us, meaning they made up a story and they went to Yaqub and they said that Yusuf alayhi salam had been killed and devoured by a sheep, or by a wolf, sorry. And then they went back to their father and they said, we were playing, we were competing with one another. And we left Yusuf in the mata'ina, we left him with our stuff. And a wolf came and ate him up. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا. And you will not believe us. Mu'min is the key word here. The Murji'ah have said mu'min here is proof for us to say that as long as you have iman in your heart, that is enough for us to believe. Why? Because Allah is saying here, belief is iman. Whereas Ahlul Sunnah saying iman refers to what you say, what you do, what you practice. All of that is connected to iman. But a person could do an action and his iman is taken away completely. A person could say something and his iman is taken away completely. A person can abandon the prayers and his iman is taken away completely. This is just an example of how linguistics is not important. Linguistics by itself is not enough for a person to understand the Quran. Understand the Quran has certain principles, and those principles need to be placed for a person to understand. Once he has those in place, then pondering.
Jazakallah khairan. The last two questions, just quickly. One says, which tafsir can we read? I'm 10 years old. Another one says, I think it was a reply to that, but just a quick reply to that. Which tafsir can we read?
As for reading tafsir, I think at the age of 10, it's very difficult for a person to start reading the books of tafsir. The books of tafsir have not been made for people at the age of 10. But this is not to say that a person of that particular age will not benefit. We're not trying to discriminate by age here, because all of us are of different levels of ability. You could very easily find a 10-year-old who could probably read Arabic and move on to Ibn Kathir perhaps. It's possible. Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, he was authoring and reading books at a very early age. Some of the companions became mufti in their teens. So it's possible that a person at the age of 10 is able to benefit from advanced tafsir, non-advanced tafsir. One knows best what level you are on. It's not about the age. It's about what level and what ability and what, syllabus you have taken beforehand. It's all about, growing in knowledge. I would say, as English speaker, the best thing for you to start off in is to read the Quran with the English translation. Muhsin Khan and Taqiyuddin Hilali is the best translation of the Quran in English. Start reading that. And as the brother Majid is saying here, ask your mother and father, sit with a ustadh, sit with your mother and father so that you can read it together. Don't read it by yourself, because sometimes some things might not be so obvious and clear. But I would say the best thing to do is just start reading the English translation. And this is something personally what I did in the beginning. Just read the English translation. Look what it says. And then build on that. Yeah, so the meaning of the ayah, the meaning of the Quran from the beginning to the end. The best thing to do is start off right now for a beginner. Again, irrespective of age. It could be 10, it could be 50, it could be 30, whatever. The first point of call is start reading the English translation or the translation of the Quran to your language, whatever's easier for you to understand, and read what the Quran says. then develop on that. But I think by that stage, you will then know what would be the next stage. Some of the ulama say the best tafsir after that is tafsir Sa'di, which has been translated in English now. Alhamdulillah. It's a very easy tafsir for a person to understand. I mean, if a person has done that much of reading what it says in your language, if it's the English language, read the Quran in English, then get tafsir Sa'di in English. If a person can accomplish that much, even if it's in their entire lifetime, has accomplished a great deal. But then there are books of tafsir which go on and become more advanced after that. But I think that is a discussion for another day.
Jazakallah khairan. I think we'll end it there, inshallah. Once again, thank you, Ustadh, for being here. Thanking everyone else for joining us. And take a break now, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.